What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the brand new Gold Prides. They actually have several different newer cards that are going to make the deck so much better. In fact, I have 3 different builds for you guys just to give you a variety of different ways that you can play the deck, as it is kind of splashable because it has so much searchability. The first one over here is a Evil Eye variant. And it really comes down to one card being so good. So, the card that's so good is Gold Pride Better Luck Next Time. This is the brand new card. So, when you activate it, you get to add a Gold Pride monster from your deck to your hand, and then you lose life points equal to its attack, which is actually a good thing because you get a lot of bonus effects if your life points are lower. And then, if a face-up Gold Pride monster you control that was special from the extra deck returns to the extra deck, except during the damage step, you get to draw 1 card. So, basically, this card automatically becomes a +1, and then it starts getting even more pluses as time goes on. So you need to get rid of this card, which you'll see in a moment what happens. But there's also this other new Xyz monster called the Chariot Carry. So it requires 2 level 3s, and you detach your material from this card to add any gold prize spell from your deck count. So essentially, it searches out whatever monster you want because you just search out that. This searches out the monster. And then on top of that, then if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you get to send a gold pride monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then you can only use the previous effect of it once per turn. Then on top of that, once per turn during the end phase, if this effect was activated this turn, you return to the extra deck, and then you get to bring out Captain Carry from your deck or graveyard. So it goes into something anyways, therefore you always get the +1 better next time. So it's a really simple combo, but it actually overwhelms your opponent usually with too much advantage, especially if you go turn 1. So there's a few different ways that you can play the deck. You could actually make the deck an OTK variant. Captain Carry is actually pretty important. So as long as your life points are lower than your opponent, you just special summon it. This is not a new card, but you get to add a Gold Pride trap from your deck to your hand, which is usually just some form of another disruption. And then on top of that, you have a bonus effect where if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Gold Pride monster you control that was special from the deck deck, banish up to 3 Gold Pride cards from your graveyard, and then if you do that, the monster gains 500 attack for each card banished. So it's a small little stat boost, but really it comes down to just being able to go for a Gossip Shadow to add another disruption. This card changes your opponent's effect to something else. So at the moment over here, we've already added 2 back row here, so we have Neck and Neck. This one is a newer card where it lets you target a Gold Pride monster you control or a Gold Pride card in your graveyard, except for itself. You return it to the hand, and then if your opponent controls a monster with attack higher than your life points, because remember, you want to lower your life points, which works very well in Evil Eye, you banish this card and a Gold Pride monster from your graveyard to special summon 1 other Gold Pride monster from your extra deck that mentions that banished monster's name. So you basically have another form of, you can bring out something else to maybe cause some more problems. And then Start Your Engine is another disruption. So this card is actually pretty good. So if your opponent normals or special summons, you can target one of those monsters. You reveal 3 Gold Pride monsters from your deck. Your opponent picks one of them to get special summon, and then you shuffle the rest back into the deck and you destroy the targeted monster. So this is kind of a disruption to the gate. This one you could kind of maybe dodge something, and then on top of that, this card is another form of disruption. And on top of that, you have the Evil Eye engine, so you have the ability to just have like one kind of pseudo boss monster. And remember, you get to draw another card. He draws in a draw and lock. It's not looking too good for our boy MathMac, and he just said, you know what, I ain't dealing with that. But let's go watch what happens when the deck goes second, right? Because, you know, some decks, they're more oriented around going first, some are more oriented around going second. So let's go and watch this build over here via True Draco. He's actually playing the Roller Baller. Most builds will at least play one of these. It's just a free extra summon. So if your life points are lower than your opponent, you just special summon it. And then during the main phase, as a quick effect, you get to fusion summon 1 Gold Pride fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. This card, to bust at the fusion, if you bust at the fusion, it's a GG. It's so good. But a lot of times people don't even need to make it because you end up perhaps committing too much to the card, but you can make it so your opponent can't actually stop it. And I'll show you guys what happens in a future video here, because I want to mainly focus in on the other builds. This one over here looks kind of like more of a pure build, but we'll see about that very soon. Oh, there's a Punk card. So this is Punk Gold Pride. So you can see him go right into the Phoenix. Now, he won't be able to get the draw with this card, but he still gets the search, and he lowers the life points of himself, which is actually what you want to do. So, like, you can run Upstart as well. You definitely want your life points to be lower than your opponent's. So he's going to go ahead and go for Spider over here. Spider just lets him pay life points. So there's a lot of mix-up. Evil Eyes can pay life points. Punks can pay life points. You need to mix something else. He just said GG right here. So if you want to know what was going to happen, if you happen to have more monsters up on the board, the fusion monster of this deck is quite good. So big shout out also to the player Pardo for this gameplay here. But that one was True Draco, and then we have another build over here. This is versus Puri. Puri is getting a lot more popular. Now, this one is actually taking in a pretty cool card. This is Wandering Griffin Rider, but On top of that, this card over here, King of Sky Prison, is actually pretty good, allowing you to set a trap that is actually pretty good if you are able to get the effect off. So this play over here is a little bit different. You're going into Nitro Head. There's just so many plays with this deck. Again, a lot of them will always have Gold Pride better luck next time, but this build over here made this card. So this one has a quick effect during my opponent's main phase. We can target one Nitro token on the field, we'd pop it, and we destroy all cards in its adjacent monster zones and spell and trap zones. So you can get a lot of good effects if they don't read this card. This card's important. Make sure you read this card, because you just give your opponent a token and they cannot use it for link material. So it kind of just lingers up on the field unless they can, of course, synchro with it. Could be a double-edged sword, just keep that in mind. So now he activated the Start the Engine, so he's able to pop a card and get a free Leon up on the board. Now he sets the backup team. Now, what does this card do? I thought this was a pretty interesting card. So this card, I've never seen it before. I don't know if it's a UA card, but it's really good. So it says draw cards equal to the number of cards your opponent controls, then place cards from your hand on the bottom of the deck in any order equal to the number of cards you drew. Now, I'm not sure if he actually, big brain, he knew his opponent was going to go for this play, because if you played against Puri, they usually make some Exceed monsters, right? One of the Exceed monsters actually bounces back the card, so he actually gets to keep this card, because how this card works, when you go for it with the King of Sky Prison, it actually gets banished during the end phase of the next turn. So this card actually has really good utility if your board gets wiped and this card survives. So what it does is you draw cards equal to the number of cards your opponent controls. So if the opponent had, let's say, a bunch of cards, and remember, he controls a Nitro token now, so that's going to be more. And then on top of that, you get to then place cards from your hand on the bottom of the deck in any order equal to the number of cards you drew. So you can just cycle through an insane amount, potentially, like maybe 4 or 5 cards, and then if your opponent controls more cards than you do while this card's in your graveyard, you can reset this card but banish it when it leaves the field. So you can maybe use this card effect twice. Absolutely insane if you can get this effect off. And I thought that was a really good tech with the Sky Prison over here. And he's got the Wandering Griffin Rider, which has a quick effect where if you control no monsters, you can just special it. And then on top of that, you can special summon this card really easy. But then on top of that, when a card effect is activated while you control an adventure token, you have a quick effect, you shuffle it, and then negate the activation. So it's potentially another disruption. So again, so many builds. So Puri's gotten a lot more popular within the past, like, I want to say week. I've just seen so many people actually play this. So this is actually a pretty good play that he does over here. So this one over here has like the effect of, was it Form the Synchron? So during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect and go for something. So he already used the effect of Nitro Head, which is the pop. He gave his opponent the token, right? So he's going to use that and this over here. And what does he make? Well, he makes this card. This card is actually surprisingly really strong. It's Psychic and Punisher. So while your life points are lower or equal to your opponent's, its Synchro Summon card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effect. So it's basically immune. And then on top of that, once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points to target a monster you control and one card your opponent controls. You banish both of them. And then at the start of the battle phase, you can make this card gain attack equal to the difference in your and your opponent's life points. So it's basically immune, and it's pretty strong already at 3,500. And if you are anywhere lower, I mean, you're just gaining a bunch of attacks. So he goes ahead, goes for a Puri, and he's going to go ahead and start excavating some cards. Goes for my friend Puri, so he's going to pay 500 life points and get that effect, and he's going to get a Exceed out. So he goes for Happiness. This one lets you bounce back cards. Obviously, he's not going to give his opponent back better luck next time. I don't know, again, if he knew about this play over here, and he's like, dude, I'm going to put backup team, so if he bounces back, I'll still have it, and it won't get banished, because you can activate this card again once it's in the graveyard. And I thought this was the craziest, like, big brain play, because, again, he's not going to give his opponent back this card, because if he activates it, he's just going to get another card. So I don't think he knew exactly what was going to go on with Psychic and Punisher, but Psychic and Punisher will just start gaining insane amounts of stats. And remember, it's immune to things. He goes ahead and activates this to what is it? Up to thrice per turn when you activate a Puri quick play, you can attach that card in the field to this card as material. So he's going to go ahead and try to go for that. Not going to be getting rid of the Heavenly Prison. He bounces back the backup team over here, and he goes attacks over that, and he's going to go try to go for that card and lower its stats, but it doesn't really matter too much. He's just going to try to go for stuff. But I think he realized this card's a little bit too strong. But I do want to mention that the Fusion Monster, which I do plan to cover as well. But let's not make this video way longer than necessary. I do got some more stuff I want to talk about with this deck. But the card that I wanted to talk about is actually Gold Pride Pinballer. So this is another brand new card. It requires the Roller Baller, which you literally just special summon, then you can fusion with it. +1 Gold Pride Monster. So what you can do with it, it's literally Katamari Damacy. So when it's fusion summon, you can equip face-up monsters your opponent controls to it up to the number of fusion materials used. So if your opponent has like 3 or 4 monsters, you just absorb everything. And then on top of that, you can only use this effect at like once per turn. And if your life points are lower than your opponent's, which is part of like, you know, mixing in different archetypes with this, its effect activation effect cannot be negated. So on top of that, once per turn during the end phase, if the previous effect was used, you get to special summon 1 Gold Pride Roller Baller from your deck or graveyard. So it actually like bounces itself back. But pretty much what it does is it absorbs everything that your opponent has, and that's a really good effect. And then you can just straight up OTK, as a lot of stuff just special summons itself. It shouldn't be too difficult if you can go for this effect, and of course, as long as this effect doesn't get negated. Now I'm gonna mouse over the cards because there were so many different players playing different builds, and that's one thing that's cool. It's kind of my introduction to the Gold Pride archetype, as I didn't really see too much play before, but sometimes all it comes down to is one card. And this card, it's really good. So like I said, I'm gonna mouse over all of the different builds. This one, you can see this is the Punk build. Again, Punk does also have to pay to search out another card, so that's gonna be really good. This is the Evil Eye build. Evil Eye, again, you have to play something that pays life points, or technically something that can increase your opponent's life points, so you can get the bonus effects of them, as that really helps out the archetype. But let me know, guys, what you think of the brand new Gold Pride archetype. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, subscribe, turn the bell so you don't miss out on when we cover. Maybe when someone does like a cool OTK with Pinballer, we'll cover it very soon. But take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.